It's something we've talked about from the get-go, from last spring, moving through the summer into the fall. That I always say I want them to learn on their own, but because I don't want to pound it into them, and because then they don't like it, and then it's not a good thing. So slowly but surely, you got to hope they figure it out. Obviously, we got three really good players that have played a lot, have a lot of experience, lead a Big 12 championship, been through all the wars. They got to be our go-to guys. They got to make plays. But we also have to help the other guys. Got to help the young guys, the Mike McGurls, the Levis, Nigels, James Love, Sean Williams, all the guys that had a little bit of experience, and bring them along, just like Dean, Barry, and Cam brought those guys along.
Last year was the pursuit better. It was kind of the off-season theme. Have you guys rallied around it?
We've talked a lot about culture of effort. That's been the thing that, and with toughness, great IQ, all doing all the things that we do. And it's got to be there. It's got to be constant. We've talked about a championship DNA. We brought up what Coach Beard talked about last year after we beat him here. That, K-State had a championship DNA. And the big thing is, do they understand that, and do they want to continue that? It's DNA is supposed to be, self-replacing. So if that's true, we'll continue to replace it within ourselves, and it might not be the same pretty masterpiece, but we still can be successful.
Describe for me the array of emotion that you went through with Xavier, as far as if he was going to go pro or if he was going to stay here.
At first, I'll be honest, I just thought he was going to go through it. I think that was the message I got. Obviously, it went a little longer. You get some anxiety, there's no doubt. And we had talks, and I told him, I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm going to just tell you what people are telling. I've been through it before. I've created tough relationships. Years ago when I was a young coach, I'd what are you doing? You're, stupid, all this stuff. And then it's not good. And I thought there was rationale, talk to his mom and dad. But, we had to wait till the last day, and, there's no doubt it was a relief. And I think, I believe he made the right decision just from all the feedback I got. I hope he does, and I hope he is rewarded because of that, and has a great year, gets his degree, which I know is very important to his mom, and gets an opportunity to play in the NBA, and that's his dream and goal.
In what ways would you like to see him maybe improve his game in the vast scope, and then what is he doing so well right now?
Well, I think, the feedback he got, and I think you guys have watched him, and elite defender, elite athlete, just has to be more efficient at the three, efficient just shooting percentage, all those things. And I don't think he has to be so much better. He just has to be more efficient, consistent, dependable. And then, we can, last year, most of our stuff was set up for those three guys. Now, we had a couple plays for X, but now I hope, more is set up for X. It's for Mac, it's for Cardi. That's what we're hoping.
What have been your impressions of the new guys, freshmen and
Well, it's been hard. And last year we had Sean, but, we only had one freshman, and now you got three. Each one it's a little different for. Dejuan's just got a little more street toughness. He doesn't seem to back down or give in, and he made every time in conditioning. He makes mistakes, but he just has that little bit of more toughness. The other two have gone through some growing pains, but to their credit, I think they realize now what it's about. They know it's hard, and they're trying to push through. And they both are talented and can help us, and there's no doubt about that. But how quick can they come along? And that'll be a key for them. How many minutes and how much production we're going to get out of them.
You referenced X, maybe having different stuff run for him with Mac now not having Dean down there. Is he someone you envision in that?
You go back to the Kansas game in the in the tournament. We ran all the plays we ran for Dean, for Mac. Now, they weren't probably ready to guard it, and maybe they weren't as good defensively at that time. But, and then even last year, Mac ended up on 14 and 12 on a double-double, without Dean. So, he's got to stay out of foul trouble so he can play longer. He's got to be just a little more consistent on some the little things. But, I want him to go inside, outside. But he's learned, when he got here, he just wanted to play outside. We had to kind of fight him to play in. But now he realized I can score in. So now if he can do that and add some perimeter shooting, that's going to make him more effective.
Do you always start at the top of page 1 each season, or is like last year's team on page 3? Just kind of how do you get
Well, we were lucky, last year with everybody back. We were way ahead. We didn't have to push them as much in the summer. This year I would tell you we used almost all our minutes, every week. Even in the fall, we've had to do more just because. And I told the older guys, do not get bored. We got to help those other guys. Because David, and we didn't even mention David Sloan, you got the 3 freshmen and David Sloan. And David Sloan missed the whole summer because of his, wrist surgery. So, it's going to take him a while. It's going to take the other guys. We just, last drill with those 4 guys on just a basic defensive drill, we had to go like 4 or 5 or 6 times because it's going to take reps for them. And then the other guys, they got to help them and not get bored and make sure they're doing what they're supposed to. And then you hope slowly but surely they'll come together.
The second summer with the 4-hour bump for basketball, has that helped more with this group?
Well, there's no doubt. We used it. We used the time. And I talked to Coach Mitty and their staff. It's that fine line. How much do you push them? You always talk to coaches. You're out recruiting. What are you doing? Because everyone wants feedback, and I think every team is different. The one thing we try to maintain is give Ben his time. 4 hours, 4:15, 4.5. Because if we can improve our guys physically, conditioning, mental toughness, to me that's going to help us. Maybe then a few extra shots or a drill or whatever. So that we always, even now, all fall, we maintain. Ben had his time, and that, I think that's what, you look for things that can set you apart and bring other guys along quicker. I think that's part of it.
Are you healthy at present?
Yeah, we've Xavier had a little tendonitis. They did a little procedure, sat him out for 3-4 days. He did part of practice today. Hopefully he'll be full go this next week sometime. We're just trying to bring him along. Obviously, he's a veteran. He's been through it. The one thing I got to be careful with him because Cardi's been in the gym shooting, but Xavier went through physical stress and mental stress. The whole thing you talked about, that was physically and mentally draining for him because as soon as we ended, he went, and he was gone almost a month. I mean, he didn't go home. And then he had to come here, and I could just run that first week of June. I was really worried about him because you could see it, the weight on his shoulders, his face. And I think now he's a little more happy, feels good about himself, and ready to go.
With Cartier's ability to defend, how many different positions is he looking at playing?
Yeah, I mean, we can play him. I think the nice thing, Carty can push and create. We can also put him at the 2 and let David, Sean, make plays for and help him because I hope Carty should be one of our best 3-point shooters. He's, he did it as a freshman, slipped a little bit last year, but he's been in the gym more than anybody. And when you track his numbers, they're astronomical. Shots made, shots attempted in the off season. So, there's going to be times when he's just going to be able to go and create and make plays. Other times, get him spotted up and make some plays. And then that allows, too, on the defensive end, can he play point? Can he play 2? Can we, different positions? And that's the other thing. Xavier can guard, and we did it last year. He can guard 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, I know he doesn't want to guard a 4, but there's certain games he might have to.
Who stepped up as your vocal leaders?
I think those guys have done a good job. Some by example, some talking. The older guys are trying to do it. So, and everybody, I think more than that, I think right now we have good followers, and they're listening, and that's important.
I could be wrong, but it looks like David's maybe already dropped some weight since he got here. How's he
Yeah.
doing with his wrist and his condition?
Well, it was hard for him, and at first you get the surgery that first couple of weeks, but then he likes to play, and now it's 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, 6 weeks, and then it was all Ben. He had Ben for 8 hours a week, and so I think he realizes. And I thought that first few days back he really was behind. I thought, man, this might take a while, but this second week now he's clicking. It's not pure or anything, but he's clicking.
It's been a very interesting week in college basketball with accusations against KU, a postseason ban today for Georgia Tech. But number one, what are your thoughts on just kind of all that resurfacing again, and how stiff some of these penalties could really be?
Yeah, to be honest, I was surprised about the stiffness of the penalty. It'll be interesting what happens. It's never good for the game. There's no doubt. I love our game. It's a great game. I've been involved. This is my 41st season. I don't want it, but at the same time, you hope everybody's doing it the same way, the right way. And we'll just I can't comment on something I don't know enough about. And you guys read way more than I do. I've seen a couple little things just because people send them to me to, think about or whatever. But, I want our game to be good. And again, I love it. And all we can worry about is ourselves and doing things the way we do, and making sure our guys, love to play, get in the gym, go to class, get degrees, and give them a chance for their future.
How much does that get you to, not that your staff ever would probably have an issue with that, but kind of grab your staff and say, hey, let's just make sure?
Well, I think even little things, it just, you're always worried, and our compliance people do a great job. Sometimes we get a little frustrated because we think they maybe go a little overboard, but as you see, it's probably good that, they try to do all the little things, cross the T's and, put the periods on, make sure we're doing all the little details. And I know it's important to Gene. I know it's important to our compliance, and it's important to our staff. We're not perfect, and I've always said that. I would never tell you I'm perfect, but we try to do it the right way.
I understand you can't talk specifics, but it appears recruiting's off to a pretty good start. Do you feel like people are starting to, respond to a Elite Eight and Big 12 and back?
Well, I think we've got some nice publicity. It's gotten us involved with some kids. Good vibe. Now we got to finish it off, and it'll be key. I feel good about what we've done so far, but it's going to be important for that next group and how we finish it off. And we'll see. The coaches have worked hard. I think this is the earliest we've ever started practice, which meant recruiting got really jammed in. And I think I was like 14 out of 16 days on the road because you had to see so many kids, and it makes it tough because now I came back 1 day a week, but each time I had to leave that night. So you're not around your players, which in some ways I'll yell at them all the time. So, it doesn't hurt to be gone, but in the long run, but it's draining the way it is.
Jermaine's been here, but what's he brought to the floor?
He's got great energy, and he loves the guys. He talks to them. I think he's pretty rational, and even as the academic guy, I think he does a great job with their mental approach and trying to get them to understand where the coaches are coming from, and just making sure he appreciates college basketball, his opportunities, being a player, moving up in the business, and he wants to make sure our guys appreciate what they have here.
Apologize, another Xavier question. I know he's not Barry, but you see guys kind of take ownership their senior years. I was curious if you see that, in what examples, what ways do you see Xavier taking ownership of this team, or is that something a little more gradual that you?
Well, I think he wants to. I think he's made the effort to. It's got to come over a course of time, I think, like you said, gradual. But he knows it, and they know it's their team, and they have to make sure example, right thing, actions, all of it is important. And, I just like Xavier's got a smile on his face. And that, to me, that's important because you play happy, good things happen.
A number of times you referenced like things you admire about Coach Snyder and what he did over, his time at K-State. Have you had any opportunities to be with Coach Kleiman a little bit?
Just a little bit. The CapEx, I actually talked to him this morning we had a head coaches meeting, but, somebody asked me I think very similar to what Coach Snyder did, solid football. They defend, they block. They obviously had a good fortune. We talked this morning about the running backs just because everyone knew that was a big question. The quarterback, stay healthy. I think we all know that. It's not very tough to realize that, but, I'm happy for him, happy for K-State. Hopefully a sellout Baylor and keep moving forward.
How important is Pearson's voice?
Pearson is, and that was one of the reasons I gave him a scholarship. One, he deserves it. He's worked his tail off. He's been here every day. Whether we play him at the big guys and he, has to deal with physicality, tries to guard Cardi, whatever it might be. But, I hope he brings a logical voice to the locker room. And I think that's important. And he's been through it. He appreciates it. He wants to have a great senior year. So, when you add him to Xavier, to Mac and Cardi, I think that's a good nucleus of older guys that can really bring great leadership.
Who have you seen the most significant progress from?
Well, I would have told you, Levi had the best summer, and then he got hurt, had some foot issues, and we rested him, and I think he's okay now. We changed his orthotics. So he's slipped, he went backwards a little bit. He's got to catch up. Mike McGurl was really making strides, and I think he just feeling good about himself. And then he broke his hand, and then he sat. So I'm really surprised Mike's first 2 days of practice, it doesn't look like he sat out for 6 weeks. He's done a nice job for us. So, those guys are, going to be beside the older guys, those guys have played in big games. And so those two, and if you can get something, James and Nigel, that'd be really important just to give us more depth with those big guys.
I could be wrong, but I'd heard that Montavious was in and out of conditioning. Was he dealing with something, or is he?
He had a little bit of, they all go through it. And when you're a freshman, obviously things hurt a lot worse. And then especially when they say you got to run more tomorrow. Yeah. But I told you one of the first things, I give them credit. They fought back. They're finishing up their conditioning. They had some today. They got a few more. I know they'll be happy. But we just talked to them about this is part of the process. They've all been through it. If you want to be successful at this level, you got it. It's the mental toughness. It's the physical toughness. And they're starting to realize that.
Has this team shown you anything up to this point in time that you didn't think you were going to see out of them, but you saw it happen? You said, "No, I'm surprised by that. That's a good."
Well, our big thing is, we talk about our championship DNA, effort, the defense. I think we can be a good defensive team. We got to get a few other guys that don't have the repetitions, the habits, to understand what we're doing every day. So I've been happy with that part of it. The scoring, we'll have to see, but I think Xavier can score. I think Cardi can score. I think Matt can score. Now, can you mix in some other guys? And that'll be big question.
What has Sean shown you from year 1 to year 2?
I think he's got to figure out what he is when you talk about roles. And, how can you play? He wants the ball, but, Cardi wants it too, and Xavier wants it. Now, can you do some other things? And can you guard? And, he's got the size. He's got the body. He's a great passer. I think sometimes and there's a lot of kids, they fight themselves. They want to do too much. Just be good, be solid. I talk to Cardi all the time about dominate simple. If you dominate simple, you're going to be a really good player because, he's so physically gifted. Same thing with Xavier. You don't have to, the step backs are fine, all that stuff. But, hey, just be really good at all the little stuff. And You know, when we need a shot at the end of the shot clock, hit your step back. I'll be happy. But do all the other stuff along the way.